Coincidence and chance happen coincidentally by chance. It's Rhyme and Reason 587.
There's a rhyme and reason for your life. There's a rhyme and reason why you're...
Hey there, Tony here, and I hope today coincidentally finds you in a good mood, good spirits, good health, and ready to hear my take on coincidence and chance. I know there are some people who will disagree with my side of the issue here, and that's okay. Everybody has a right to be wrong once in a while. But before I get into all that, I'm going to talk about Georgia, because Georgia seems to be on a lot of people's minds right now. Georgia and Michigan and what other, several other states. You know what I'm talking about. Just these states are on people's minds for some reason. I don't know. And by coincidence and by chance, that song, Georgia on My Mind, which was sung by the incomparable Ray Charles, went to number one on the charts back in November, this month, of 1960. It was on November 14th that it actually hit number one, I believe. And it shows, life is full of little twists and turns and coincidences like that. And I think it's cool when they pop up. I mean, at least I get a kick out of it. You get the coincidence I'm talking about, right? That Georgia's on a lot of people's minds, and the song Georgia on My Mind, yeah, okay, you get it. Anyway, a lot of other people, including Christians, say they believe everything happens for a reason and other silly things like that. Yeah, it's silly because chance and coincidence, they are real. And I know when I say that, like I said, it'll be like another line from that Ray Charles hit, "No peace do I find, Georgia on my mind." Because Christians, they tend to frown on a brother who dare say that everything that happens is not part of God's plan. I mean, I can almost hear that, the weeping and gnashing of teeth when I just, talk about this right now. But any Christian who believes God is currently in control and that nothing happens by chance, that Christian hasn't been paying attention. And they don't hear what God clearly says. And I believe the reason they don't is because it lays responsibilities back on them, on us. Uh-oh, who wants that to happen, right? Well, because isn't it just a whole lot easier to say it's all part of God's plan than to take responsibility for your own behavior, and responsibility for your own behavior. I'm not saying, because people will say it's all part of God's plan, but they'll also say, and I know that I have to do what's right and all these kind of, why, you have to, what do you mean? You have a choice, but it's God's plan, you see what I'm saying? But if you just read his word, you can actually find out what his will is for your life, and it's not a to-do list for your day. I just urge you to read it, because he wrote a book. It was a best-selling book, and he tells us things in there, and there are multiple places where we don't have to guess. He tells us what his will is for our lives. You don't have to go in there and wonder, is there some way I can read this and figure out what God's will is for my life? You don't have to do that, because it's in there. You don't have to find out what his will is specifically for your life, your day. It doesn't work that way. And as it just so happens, by the way, God, and Jesus says things happen by chance. I mean, that's just blasphemy. Right. But it's there. It's there in the Bible, in black and white, and red. Yep. Jesus said it. He said things happen by chance. And before you serve up any verses like, "Be still and know that I am God," it's important to understand verses like that don't mean that God's making everything happen. He's not doing evil that good may come of it. He doesn't work that way. And there's a lot of evil deeds acted out by evil men and women. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, that's happening. You see it all around. In our country, it's rampant right now. And it always has been in the world. And when people say these kind of things, they don't glorify God, by saying that he's in control of all this. And I'm confident that he's offended by anyone who would imply that he is. I'm not saying even just say it, but would imply it. So if you get a chance, see what I did there? Look up that word, chance, in your Bible. Look it up today. And unless you have some sort of odd translation, you might find at least 4 verses where that word is used. And one of them, like I said, is in red. You know what that means, right? Go check it out. And be hopeful and be joyful in this knowledge that one day God will take back complete control. He won't let those evil ones destroy forever. Let that fortify and edify your soul. And that's where I'll leave you today. This episode of the Rhyme and Reason Podcast, brought to you by TonyFunderburk.com, where, as I have been saying for a while now, you should go over there, click on the merch tab, or tap on the merch tab if you're on a mobile device, and look for that t-shirt that says, it's right there at the top of the merch page, life has rhyme and reason because God made you.
There's a rhyme and reason for your life.